Welcome to Talking Yoga. We have Kelly Morris. Kelly, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I would like to start with asking you a question on a lighter note from one of your students, and they ask, Kelly, why are you so sassy?
Oh, gosh. It's got to be the Irish gangster in me, you know? And also, I went to about 12 schools before I was 16. And we lived all over the world. And I think when you're moving a lot, you're always kind of a misfit. You're an outcast. You're always struggling to figure out how to fit in. And I think I just didn't fit in very well anywhere. And so as a defense mechanism, you get you either crumble and become like a follower, or you say, oh, screw that, and you become more yourself. So in some ways, it's like a strengthening process, I guess. So I don't know if that accounts for the sassiness, but a little.
And you enjoy that spirit in class? What does that add to teaching?
I used to be a lot more extreme when I taught, but with the development of my practice, I found that, I have this way of practicing now that's allowed me to gain access to this magical place that yoga has always been meant to bring you to. But as we've seen yoga kind of devolve into people just trying to get in shape. Yoga wasn't meant to get you to a size 2 necessarily. It was meant to heal you and restore you to the greater whole, from which man and woman is largely asunder. And so through my practice now, because I'm able now to step into the greater matrix, as crazy and sort of impossible as that sounds, because of that, I've found that my worldly relationships with myself and with other people have been tempered, because I'm no longer demanding from my relationships what they cannot offer me, which is that connection, that yearning for the greater whole, the cosmos, you could call it. And when that's absent from an individual's life, as it was from mine, then you seek that connection through people or objects. So you see people running around buying, eating, screwing, trying to accrue power and money. And then also flipping through relationships rapidly. Always looking for something and never finding it. And it's the huge cliche of spiritual life, right? Like, it's all inside of you. It's not out there, but most of us are pretty assured it's out there. And so what we do is we put this undue pressure on relationships in our life. Say I meet a man and I want him to be everything. I want him to be the greater cosmos for me, so that I can remember who I am and be absorbed into that. But he's just a person looking for the same thing as I am. I can't give it to him and he can't give it to me. There's a moment sexually when it's good sex, and we all know how relatively rare that is, where when you have an orgasm with someone that you love, you have a brief moment of a dissolution of duality. There's that feeling of we're together, we're one almost, and the whole world hangs their hat on that. But through your yoga practice, you can actually access that experience in a non-sexual way without a partner in your yoga practice. And I started to do that. And so what happens is that because you're fulfilled by finally being readmitted as a functioning member of the greater cosmos, right? Like you're no longer separate. You feel exactly how you belong. You feel exactly welcomed in. And as a result of that, everything else eases up, because I'm no longer looking at, say, Zubin as my future husband thinking, you better have it all going on. You better have every single quality a person could have in order to fulfill me, and that's impossible, right? And likewise impossible for me to do for you or for anyone else. So I think my teaching, to get back to what you're saying about being sassy, it's still sort of sassy, I guess, but it's more grounded in a feeling of, for lack of a better word, and to not use another bumper sticker phrase, a feeling of abundance, and no longer coming from a feeling of being asunder, which I think most people feel. And they desperately try to reconnect through all of these means that don't work.
that brings us to a question that's been sent in from Simon in Oakland, and he is looking at this idea of how the yoga practice has been about asana for many years, but beginning to change. And do you see this current of introducing meditation into the practice of yoga as something that is building and perhaps returning yoga to its more traditional practices?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pendulum swung in one direction of being extreme asana. Like, can you put your feet behind your head and smoke a cigarette and drink a martini and raise your kids all at the same time? And I myself was a proponent of a really vigorous kind of yoga for a long time, where we would do, say, warrior 1, warrior 2, warrior 3, extended side angle, all on one side, go to down dog, and then do the other side, right? And in the room, everyone's like, yes, I'm going to get into that bikini this summer. But what we found, through no fault of our own, since we didn't know, there was no precursor to that style of yoga, 20 years later, hip replacement surgery is the dirty little secret of yoga teachers. Because of that famous thing that we keep hearing about now from Colleen and Rodney of loading the joints. And it happened to me. And so as a result of that, I think, you see a lot of people in their 40s and 50s abandoning yoga. A, because they don't care anymore about getting their feet behind the head. They've realized slowly, arduously, through the years of practicing yoga, that getting your feet behind your head isn't going to make you a happier person. You know, it just makes you a little weirder than everyone else. and so as a result of that, I really think that Colleen and Rodney in particular have hit upon something, which is figuring out a way to make yoga something that's accessible and available to people that are getting a little older, like myself. I'm 48. So my requirements for my body and for my mind and what's fulfilling and what takes me forward and what evolves me has shifted than when I was 25. And I think people all around the world are recognizing that there's a beauty and an excitement to getting your feet behind your head, but only if you haven't done it. And then when you do it, it's like, oh, whoa, like...
What next?
How come I'm not super ecstatic and super happy and at one with the world, you know? And so for me, my meditation practice has been instrumental in affording me this different kind of relationship with my body and with the earth and with what I call the greater cosmos, which can sound a little heavy-handed, but meditation, the ability to become single-pointed on one thing, say, just a simple meditation like your breath, which most people cannot do. If you can develop that skill set, bring it into the classroom with you so that you become the center of your mandala. The teacher, the music, the asanas are sort of on the periphery of your mandala, but your central relationship is to your breath. That wee but mighty tool of the breath acts as a doorway. If you can become one with one thing, in your bedroom it's your partner, but when it's in a yoga mat it's something else, right? When you can become one with your breath, with one thing, then you are one with all things, because you get into that weird nebulous area of all is one. That sounds so like wonderful, but what in the world does that mean? And it happens so that it just so happens that if you can focus on your breathing, and it takes a lot of discipline and years of practice to be able to do that and not fall out of the class and not be distracted by the teacher or by the music or by the person sweating next to you or the gossip you heard about the person three mats down or something like that, you disappear into a singular experience. And that singular experience allows you entree into all experience for a moment.
Do you think you can do that without a meditation practice?
No.
So
maybe somebody would have the karma, the unusual karma, as, say, Buddha did to come out of his mother's rib, which is very unusual. Someone might have the karma to be able to sit down, go to a yoga class, and boom, hit the ground running, and they're one with it all, you know. But in my experience, it's a really hard slog to get there.
So Kelly, thank you for answering these questions, joining us today. I know a lot of people watching these videos have an ongoing stream of questions, and I think you've given people a lot of material to work with and to think about.
Oh, thank you. I hope it helped someone someplace. That would be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mhm.